I've never felt the way at the end of a movie ever in the history of watching, honestly, any piece of content than I felt at the end of this movie. So Carson, I know you didn't see the entire Nintendo Direct because you're not as big of a video game. Well, you're probably a bigger gamer than I am, but not specifically for Nintendo products.
No, not for Nintendo at least. No.
Yeah. But I watched the whole Direct live, and the biggest thing that we could talk about on the podcast that I know we both do actually care about is the Mario Galaxy movie. Now,
Yes.
that's pretty big.
Yes.
There was a lot of talk, especially given how they ended the last movie, that this was going to be Mario World because chronologically, and Mario timeline's a little funky, it does go to Mario World next, then Mario Galaxy. So a lot of people are pretty surprised online that we're jumping straight to Galaxy. I know you don't know too much about the video games, but there is kind of like a progression a little
I
bit.
didn't know there was even a
Um,
progression. Like, it doesn't surprise me that there is, but like that's how little I actually knew about any of this, was that I didn't know that there was even a progression. So
Yeah, it's not the biggest deal, and they can easily get away with it. They did even mention in the reveal that it's going to take inspiration from all of Mario. It's not just going to be Galaxy, even though it's called Mario Galaxy. But I know I loved the Super Mario movie. It's definitely one of the better video game adaptations, and we obviously podcast did not exist when it came out. So what's your hype levels for this?
So the Mario movie's not bad. It is not by any means an offensive video game adaptation. It's not an offensive cartoon film as far as a family film goes. It's not offensive. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not that bad. That being said, I know they could have done much more with that film than what they gave us. I do not think it's near the best of the best. I've heard some people glaze that movie beyond belief, and I don't know why. I'm not saying it's bad. I really enjoyed my time with that movie, but it's not one I've ever cared to rewatch, because other than it just being, oh, it's Mario, it didn't really offer anything for me beyond Mario trying to stop the threat. And I get that that's what the games are based on. Mario's trying to stop Bowser, or he's trying to stop Donkey Kong, because initially that's what Mario's based off of, was the Donkey Kong game. From, I don't know, what was it, the 80s? Is that when Donkey Kong came out?
Something like that, yeah.
Point being, I've never cared enough to go back and watch this film. I've also don't really like talking about this film that much, because there's just nothing that excites me enough or offers enough to me where I'm like, that's great, that's, whatever. It's just fine. And I feel like for a Mario movie, they should have been more. It should have been more than just fine. They should have found a way to make this like a Lego movie type film. They have so much source material to go off of, and I feel like they just chose the most mediocre ways of going about it. You know what I mean?
I mean, here's the thing. I definitely think the Lego movie is better. The Lego movie is an exceptional comedy movie, a great
Sure.
heart to it. I would put the Mario movie though pretty up there. Like personally, I really had a fun time with it. Cuz here's the thing. It's a Mario movie. You're not going to get like a deep, emotional, introspective story, and you're not going to get the best comedy you've ever heard, but you're going to get a good time. Like you're going to have, in my opinion, a fun ride. It feels like playing a Mario game, like the experience of the joy that a Mario game brings. And I'm not the biggest Mario like fan in terms of, I haven't played all of the games, but I'm familiar. I like Mario Kart, for instance. I know it's like technically not a Mario, it's a Mario game, whatever.
It's the same
But
as Super Smash Bros. Like, it's not technically a
yeah,
Mario game, but
Mario is a key player in it.
right.
But I really enjoyed what they gave. I mean, the Mario Kart segments in the movie, you had your platforming, you had your slapstick humor. I think that the cast did a really good job. Do I wish they would have gone with people that sounded a little bit more like the characters? Maybe. They definitely went more the A-list side than they did the, I guess, authenticity side. But I don't think that really detracts away from the movie as much as people thought it was going to, and as much as a lot of people still think that it did.
It It's not even that. Like, I don't care about the A-list actors. I don't care who they chose to play the characters. That doesn't bother me. That's more for the purists who, they know what Mario sounds like. They know what these characters sound like, or they know what they look like. That's more for those people that actually care about it. I don't care enough to care about that. You know what I mean? Uh, but I want to be like, and I give you that. I had a fun time. I like being blown away. That's not what a movie should be. Not every single time, especially animated films. Animated films, like, it's an unfair comparison. I know it is, but I'm just saying it. When you walk out of Aladdin and you watch this whole arc, these whole characters, you love every second of it. There's not one part of that movie that you can go, that sucked, that was horrible. Another good film that uses the example of that is oh my gosh, what Tarzan. Tarzan is a good one, which is a bit more on the same line of Mario, I guess, both based off of specific source material that actually, like, Tarzan has some really good deep thinking moments. It has some moments where you genuinely can sit, and it has the adult moments too, where adults can also get involved in and watch this and enjoy this. I'm not saying adults can't watch this. Again, it's Mario. But to say that it's the exact same thing is a crime. Mario movie doesn't offer any deep thinking. It is just an adventure from start to finish, but it offers no questions, no deep thinking, no nothing. It's just something to watch. Do you get what I mean? Again, I'm not trying to insult the movie. Again, I still liked the movie. I enjoyed the journey that we were on. I enjoyed the film that it was. It's just not what it could have been. It's wasted potential is what I see with that film. So when it comes to Mario Galaxy, we're kind of wrapping it to the start of the question.
No, because I'm gonna cut you off here because you know what you sound like? You sound like a pretentious film snob, like one of those people. You sound like the mutual friend that we complain about sometimes. Well, I guess not mutual. He's more your friend than mine. You sound exactly like him. The person who's like, every movie needs to make you think your ass off. You need to walk out with a big second brain from watching this movie. I fully disagree. There should be movies that you go into and have a fun time with, that you can go in. It's just like riding a roller coaster. A roller coaster is not going to make you rethink your entire life and connect with every moment of that roller coaster. A roller coaster is going to give you a fun, I mean, most of the time, 5 minutes in this case, and what, an hour and 40-ish minutes, an hour and a half. That's
Hour and a half.
all the movie needs to be. Not
Right.
every movie needs, we need movies. This movie sold a shit ton. I think it made over $1 billion. It was one of the highest grossing movies the year. I think it was the highest grossing movie the year that it came out. That shows that, yes, we need movies that make you think. We need movies like The Long Walk, one of the movies the movie that we're talking about today. But at the same time, not every movie needs to or should be like that. And I get your comparisons with Aladdin and Tarzan. Those are Disney princess movies. It's a very different type of movie. The goal of that movie is very different than the goal of a Mario movie.
Yeah. Then let me rephrase what I said, because if I sound like a pretentious film snob, let me rephrase that. Cut the deep thinking part. Give me something to chomp at in your movie instead of just have me sitting there watching this. Again, it's not a bad thing to have mindless, numbless action with some care and heart for the project. It does have that. You can see that the people behind the project actually cared for it, but there's a lot that could have gone into this film that just didn't. There's a lot of wasted potential. I'm like a broken
Well,
record when I say
what
that.
would you have wanted? Like you say, wasted potential as if you're a Mario expert, but you admit you don't know Mario all that well. So, what
I,
is the wasted potential of this movie? I
I
mean,
would
think
have
of like The Naked
actually.
Gun. The Naked Gun is a comedy movie, and yes, it's very funny, and you care about some of the characters, but at the end of the day, it's a comedy movie. You don't need all that much out of it. You're just there for a roller coaster ride. I'm not saying Mario movie is like The Naked Gun movie. They are different movies. I'm just giving you examples of movies that are very unique in their experiences where you can just go in and have fun. You can just go in and watch the movie, and that's all you need to do because that's all it needs to be.
I guess again, it just goes back to my thing of there's so much more that people can do with films nowadays. And I guess a good example is I wanted to actively care more about Mario than what they gave. In a video game character, there's only there's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can do with a video game character like Mario, who rarely ever speaks. He says, "Let's-a go," or "It's me, a Mario."
You have not played you have not played Mario games. That is very incorrect. There are Mario RPG games where the whole point is Mario going through and talking. You have Mario Odyssey. You have games where he is a lot more of a character, which I guess serves your point of that wasted potential, but you keep saying wasted potential as if you know what that potential is. That's the problem that I
A
have.
wasted potential
I'm
with
not
an
saying I'm
animated film.
Mario's #1 expert over here, but
Again, I'm
using
not.
the word wasted potential without knowing the potential of a Mario movie it feels disingenuous.
Again, I'm not talking about source material. I only pulled from that one specific example just because I was trying to give an example of any kind at all from what I thought I kind of knew. I'm looking at this objectively from a film perspective. It comes off as just a miss. And look, this movie made a ton of money, sure. It has been proven many times by various different films that just because your movie makes money does not mean that your movie is good. It doesn't.
So what would you have done? What would you have done differently? Like what is this wasted potential that you're talking about that you think like
Given
if
more
you were to
development to characters that you can actually care about, so that you can
what
actually care
type
about the
of
plot of the film.
development are you looking for though? Like
So
what do you want? Are you wanting Mario to die? Or are you wanting him to have a tragic backstory? He has a tragic backstory. His parents don't give a fuck about him. That's the reason he runs away. His parents don't believe in him. You're forgetting that we have set up to make you care about Mario. The reason he goes to the other world and leaves his family behind and goes with his brother is because his family actively treats him like shit because they don't care about him and they don't believe in his dreams. So he has to go and find a world where people believe in him and need him because his family doesn't. That right there is character development and is making you connect with Mario.
no, that's fine. It's the way they wrote the scene to get to that moment. It was so sloppily put together and so weak for me that I couldn't care about what's happening. You can still have the greatest idea ever, but if the execution doesn't go well, then it just falls flat. Again, I'm not calling this film bad because you're coming at me like I think it's bad. I still enjoyed this film. There's a lot to love about it. I like the moments with Bowser, and I like the little moments, when he's playing the piano and he starts playing the
Peaches, 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 peaches,
no,
peaches,
not
peaches,
Peaches, but the
peaches,
when he's
peaches,
talking to his
peaches.
goon.
I love you,
What
baby. Anyway.
No, when he's not Peaches, but like when he's sitting at the piano talking to his goon and he starts playing like the actual theme. That's a cool idea. That's a really cool concept because he's playing the actual theme on the piano. It's campy, it's weird, but it fits perfectly in a film like this. That's a cool idea. The execution for how they chose to do some of this stuff is really weird. Like admittingly, the way they brought in Donkey Kong was funny, but like I feel like Donkey Kong did nothing after a certain bit. Like they brought him in, they gave him a redemption arc, which you also don't feel for. But I don't know. I know I'm being harder on this, but it's also because I'm trying to prove the point of. We haven't even talked about Galaxy yet, by the way. I just want to point that out. You have been coming at me about this film for a while. I think that the first film is okay. If you're somebody who's a big Mario enthusiast, you'll watch it, you'll enjoy it for what it is. I, as a film person who doesn't know much about the games, went and saw it. Even I can still have an appreciation for what the games offered, but all I see in this film is certain things that definitely could have been better. It definitely could have been better. But what we got was not obscene. It wasn't like it was hot garbage. It's not like it was hot trash. I just know that it could definitely be better. Because I've
So
seen...
I'm gonna spin this around because you're right. We haven't really talked about Galaxy all that much, but I feel like this conversation is important to set up our thoughts on Galaxy. And there's not much to go off of since, again, neither of us have played Mario Galaxy, and we got nothing to set up the story. We
I
just
know
got
it.
a visual.
I know it's about a Mario Galaxy. That's what I know it's about.
But I think okay. I'll leave us with this one question, and we'll go back and forth on however long you want to on this. What does Mario Galaxy need to do to make you enjoy it more than Mario? You already said connecting with the characters more, but like give me substance. Like what do you need this movie to do?
I give you substance. I don't know like the plot of I guess it needs to it actually needs to give me some sort of an emotion to feel as opposed to just staring at the screen watching things happen. I don't care if I feel angry.
Mm.
I don't care if I feel angry for all I care. Uh, but I instead of just sitting there and just watching events play out, things happen, I actively want to feel something. I don't care if it's sadness. I don't care if it's joy or happiness. I definitely want the dialogue to be written a little better. Some of the jokes didn't always work or land. Some of it was
I mean,
fine.
that's just the nature of a comedy.
It's
Not
just
every joke's gonna
well,
land.
and I don't think the Mario movie is a comedy. I think it's just an animated movie. You can have an animated comedy. I don't I don't really think of that film much as a comedy. Um, I want I genuinely want Luigi to do more than what he did in the first movie. I thought that what they did with him was fine and they used him in an okay way. But now actually give him something to do beyond just sitting in a
That's
cage
just kind
for
of the
8 hours
nature of
together.
Luigi, though. That's the thing.
Yeah,
Luigi has his own games where he is the main character, but for the most part, Luigi is just the other guy in the main because it's a Mario game, it's a Mario movie. Now, granted, they are building out the ethos of Mario more than they would in some of the games, but Luigi doesn't play a big part in a lot of the Mario games because he's just Mario's brother. He has his own games where he gets to shine, but in the Mario games, there's only some of them that I can think of where he plays a bigger role.
sure.
So maybe, and again, from what I know about Galaxy, I don't think Luigi's even in the game. So I'd be curious to see how much Luigi we even get in this movie.
Again, and that's fine. I don't know the game, so when I say some of these things, it's all off the pretense of like, okay, from a film objective, I wish I could have had more of this, but I don't know what the source material actually garners. Like we're gonna talk about things about the long walk today that granted I have very few complaints with the long walk. I have complaints, don't get me wrong. But like you're not if I had a complaint about the long walk, that would be similar to like, I wish we would have gotten more from this or more from this, or I wish they would have told us this. Maybe it did in the source material and they just left it out of the film. I know the Harry Potter franchise is like that. I know they go further with certain things and whatnot that the films leave out. And with something like Mario, where you have numerous video games and things to go off of, not everything gets adapted, especially for an hour 30-minute film. So I don't know. It's hard to answer that because I don't have like an actual like. First off, I haven't seen the film since it came out, because I never cared to revisit it. I haven't a clue as to what Mario Galaxy is about, so I can't really answer like what would I genuinely want to see more of beyond like, okay, this is what I didn't really like in the first one, or what I could have I needed more of. That's kind of what I need here. I just need better writing and more. Honestly, tension is not like a bad word. Tension. I need more tension. I need more. I just need to care more about this world, because other than the fact that this is Mario and that alone is holding it up, that's it. That's all it's getting from me. It's Mario. It's the same way I felt about the what film came out in 20 the Detective Pikachu movie. I was like, it's Pokemon. Oh, look, there's Bulbasaur. That's really cool. Charizard, that's really cool. It's just Pokemon. That's the only reason
I mean,
that film.
I'll agree with you a little bit. I liked the Detective Pikachu movie. I don't hold it in as high regards as some
No,
people do. I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was a fun time, but
I do think
I
Mario's definitely
definitely
better than that.
I
I'll
would
give you that.
much rather, and I have rewatched the Mario movie, and I probably will again because I am much higher on this movie than you are. But yeah, I think I don't know what I want out of the Mario Galaxy movie is honestly just more of what the Mario movie did. I know that's not what you want, but I really liked the Mario movie, and I think that if they take what they did already and move it up a notch in terms of like a little bit better comedy, a little bit better writing. The animation, I don't think they really need to touch all that much. It was
No,
stellar. It was
that is one thing I will
amazing
say that
looking.
yeah, the anime, even like the trailer for Galaxy, like I was like, oh my gosh, that's actually like gorgeous. Like, that looks
Yeah,
really good.
yeah. So those things, I really just think like if you want to make Mario Galaxy and make it just as good as the Mario movie, I'm gonna be happy. But if you want to improve, literally just take every element of it and ramp it up a little bit. Other than the animation, because I don't think you can go much higher.
Sure. And again, no, there will be people who would be happy with that. I just know that honestly, just because just for craps and giggles, I want to make sure in my own head I'm not going crazy here.
What do you? Maybe I can answer for you. What is the?
I just want to look at the tomato score just because I'm curious.
I bet it's pretty high. I'm guessing 86.
I'm gonna guess it's like 60 or lower.
No, absolutely not. I'm guessing 86.
You want audience score or critic score? Because audience score I expected it to be higher. Audience score is about what I expected. It's 95. The critic score is 59.
Jesus Christ. I hate critics. We need to get rid of critics. We're not movie critics. That's why we don't score things, because I think scores are stupid and
Oh no,
arbitrary.
absolutely. That's why I'm talking about all this, but I still don't score it because I'm like, it's so wildly uneven. After a while, film scores get so wildly uneven because out of nowhere you'll get Step Brothers is the same as like some really good movie that it's like the same as Joker. That's a horrible comparison, but like there's some people who are there who would genuinely rank like Step Brothers 3 stars and Joker 3 stars. And how do you get there? One is a significantly better film than the other.
It's so, again, this is the reason that we on this podcast, I refuse to let anyone rate anything on a star scale, on a number scale. I think it's so arbitrary in the sense of it does not tell you what's actually good, what you actually enjoy of the movie, what you actually don't like. That's why I'd rather just, maybe we talk ourselves in circles sometimes, but I feel like us just having a conversation about what we liked and what we didn't like and things about the movie is a more productive conversation than sitting here being like, it's a 10 out of 10. Okay, why is it a 10 out of 10? And then maybe you'll get some descriptions and then you can kind of quantify it. But again, trying to take that word and those sentences that you have of your descriptions and match it to the 10 out of 10. I might agree with everything you're saying. I still probably might not give it a 10 or a 5 or a 4 or whatever it is.
I agree with you. It's just reading some of these. I'm just like, it's like such a drastic drop off. First off, there's not one person where it's like, oh, this is a 10 out of 10 movie, but also like the fall off is insane. People are like, hey, maybe the story wasn't as complex, but I found myself quite enjoying it. And then below it, this film was hot garbage. Don't watch this. I'm like, where's the connection there? How did people end up? I don't know. It's just so funny. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mario Galaxy, have high hopes for it. I hope that it's better than the first one. Certainly going to watch it opening day. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
We'll be talking about it on the podcast.
2026?
Next year.
Next year.
I think it's early next year, actually, if I remember correctly, but I don't think they gave us an exact date. I could be wrong on that.
If I had to guess, it would be April again, because that's when the first one came out.
I'm going to quickly Google it. Stalling for time. Blah, 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 blah. It is not giving me a release date.
You can put this in the clips later.
You are correct. April 3rd, 2026.
You can clip this and put it in the clips later if you want. For those that really like Mario, I don't hate Mario. I'm just piecing my opinions because I already know Brandon's going to clip a lot of what I said.
This is not getting clipped. This section in here, it's not getting clipped. I'm going to clip me getting angry at you. I'm going to clip you being an idiot, and that's about it.
Honestly,
dude, we got I don't want to talk about this too much. We got so many comments on our clip about James Gunn versus the Russo brothers. I think we're at like nearly 30 to 40 comments on it of people either agreeing or disagreeing with us. It's very funny. You should go and read some of them if you have time.
Well, hold on, wait. We had two very different opinions. So is it like down the middle? Like some people say it's the Russo brothers, some people say it's James Gunn, or some people are
there are
not any.
Yes, that's basically what it looks like. There's some people that say we're totally wrong, some people that totally agree with us, and then some people that threw in a third name, some of them that I haven't even heard of before. They're like, oh, this dude directed this comic book that you don't even know exists. And I'm like, shut the fuck up, bitch. Sorry, we
Dang.
love you. Comment on our stuff. Thank you. We really appreciate all of the people that support us.
Yeah,
But
nothing says we support you by telling them fuck you.
yeah, I told Wafello fuck you, and he took it good. So anyways, with that being said, we're not talking about the Mario Galaxy movie this episode. We're talking about other stuff because what's up, Nimrods? It's your boys back with another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast, the only podcast on the internet where your two favorite Nimrods talk all things nerdy. My name is Brandon, aka Parrotfish, your host for today's episode, here with my brother and forever co-host
Carson, aka Juggernaut.
And this week we have, of course, two topics. We are continuing our Peacemaker Season 2 discussion, and we are giving our review and thoughts on The Long Walk. It's going to be a fun conversation and probably a hard conversation because I have a lot of thoughts on this movie.
Sure.
I don't want to give anything away right now. We will save that. We're going to cover Peacemaker first. But before we get into Peacemaker, Carson, how are you? How's the week been?
Brother, it's been a week. It's just one day after the next. I feel like this week went by extremely quickly.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
like more than I thought it would go. Because it feels like just yesterday we recorded our other podcast episode, and now we're here. I had a fun time. The past few days, watching this movie, watching Peacemaker, and I have some plans later this weekend, but other than that, everything just went by so quick this week. So I feel like it was just a big blur, but I'm alive. I'm here. I'm excited to talk. So
Yeah, no, you're so right. Like I blinked and it was Saturday, which is always a good thing because when you work a 9 to 5, you want the week to be over fast. But at the
sure.
same time, it also takes away all the intermediary period where you get to do fun stuff. And so hopefully this week I can do a little bit more. I felt like I kind of wasted this week, admittedly. Like I still did the things I needed to do, but because it went by so fast, I looked up and I was like, what did I even accomplish this week other than the things I normally need to do?
Right.
So
Right.
yeah. But with that being said, we'll go ahead and dive right into the conversation. Big spoiler warning for Peacemaker episode 4 of season 2, as well as for The Long Walk. We're going to give both spoilers now. If you have not seen any of them, there will be timestamps in the description. We don't give non-spoiler reviews, we just get right into it. So if you have seen Peacemaker and you haven't seen The Long Walk, honestly, the first half of this podcast should be okay for you, but there will be timestamps. And if you have seen The Long Walk and you haven't seen Peacemaker, skip to that. Or go and watch both of them and come back and hear our thoughts. I also did post a short with my non-spoiler thoughts on The Long Walk because when I got back from this movie, I kind of wanted to talk about it immediately. So check that out. Oh, also, I want to give this note right now that we're out of the spoiler warning, but before I meant to mention this a few minutes ago. I did see Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba Infinity Castle. I saw it in Japanese yesterday. I am seeing it in English today. I have a both spoiler and non-spoiler review of that up on the short form content on all platforms. My take might be a little bit more controversial than you might think. Some people agree, some people don't agree already. So check that out. Let me know your thoughts in the comments of those. I'm really curious to know what people think of that movie. We won't be talking about it on the podcast because while I am going to force Carson to watch Chainsaw Man so we can talk about the Chainsaw Man movie, I was not going to force him to watch 4 seasons of Demon Slayer. Because he's not the biggest anime person. So we're not going to be talking about it on the podcast. If you want to know my thoughts, you can find it online. I might even post another one today. Who knows after I see the English, if my opinions changed at all. But yeah, now that that's out of the way, Carson, go ahead and give me your overarching thoughts of Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 4.
So, not a bad episode, but also this is definitely the midway point episode of the season so far. There's
How
a
many
lot.
episodes are we getting? Sorry to
8.
interrupt. 8? Okay,
8.
so this is the halfway point. Okay.
This literally is the halfway point, but it also actively feels like the halfway point. This episode, it has some really good moments. There's a lot of good character moments, like a scene between Chris and Adebayo. I really enjoyed that. I liked the scene between Rick Flag Sr. and Amelia. I thought that when it's moments like that, it's really, really good. Beyond that, this episode definitely feels like it's more at a hold, because it also feels like, other than moving the door from one location to another and establishing that, nothing really gets accomplished. Pretty much the same questions you have at the end of the last episode, you still have without any resolve. And I'm not saying that questions have to be answered. Over the course of a season, questions will get answered later on, or sometimes even in like 3 seasons down the road. But this episode, I don't want to say it feels like filler, because I don't think it's filler. I just feel like this is definitely the lull episode of the season so far, where it's like, you have some really good character moments. You get some time to just chill back in our reality after episode 2, because episode 3, we obviously spent the entire time in the alternate dimension. Now's the moment for us to just like, actually just like, okay, build out the characters in this world, build out this moment, and then we're going to leave you on a cliffhanger with, what's to come next week, which speaking of that, and we'll talk more about this, I have no idea what's to come anymore. I had stuff written on a paper, crumpled it up, tossed it out the window the moment this episode ended. I have no idea where this is going anymore. Again, it's not bad. There's a lot of great moments with it. There's just, unfortunately, this is definitely the weakest episode of the season so far, and it's okay. There's nothing inherently bad. There's nothing inherently bad, but there's nothing like that's just like, oh, okay, just another episode. That's it. Like, they didn't really give us anything, which it's okay to have those episodes. It's just, this is definitely this is the lull episode.
It's funny because I don't know if you and I are ever going to agree on this season of Peacemaker, because this is my favorite episode
How is that
season
even?
so far.
What
I
is
love
going
this
on?
episode. I love this episode. This
What
was
is?
legitimately, I was watching this episode, I was so locked in, and I was like, this is my favorite episode so far.
What is going
I didn't
on?
expect you to be as high as me, but like, you're like, nah, this is the weakest. I'm like, yo, I love this.
No, okay. Well, let me rephrase that. I did love this episode. We still do agree. I just think, of the 3 episodes they released thus far, this is probably the weakest one so far. Maybe episode 1. Maybe episode 1 is the only other episode I would say that's probably weaker. But just because it's the weakest doesn't mean it's bad. Like, again, Breaking Bad is one of the best shows of all time, and The Fly is regarded as one of the worst episodes of that show. That being said, that episode is still really good, and it provides a lot of character moments and things to breathe. So I'm not saying it's bad. God, what is with us today? I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying
No. I'm not saying that you're saying it's bad, but you did say it's the weakest out of the episodes, and this,
Yeah.
for me, is the highest out of the episodes. And I'll tell you exactly why. This episode felt, to me, the most like season 1 out of any episode we've gotten so far.
Okay.
Granted, the whole team isn't together, but they are working a lot more in unison, and you get a lot more moments of that teamwork and that dynamic that I loved so much from season 1, especially those later episodes of season 1. I felt that in this episode through the character interactions that we did get. I'm going to be honest here. This might be a really hot take. I am having a hard time enjoying the other dimension stuff. When he's in the other dimension and interacting with his dad and his brother, that's the weakest stuff for me. I don't know why. I just don't connect with it as much. I get the story, I get the plot. I don't hate it. It's just the weakest part of this season because I love the crew. I love the character dynamics. I love the comedy that they
Sure.
bring. Also, I just have to say, there is a little bit of bias in my ranking of this episode because my favorite moment of all of Peacemaker happened in this episode. Can you guess what that is?
Your favorite? Well, it's not Judo Master's
My
return.
favorite moment from the entire show.
Your favorite moment happened in this episode?
Mm-hmm. You're not going to be able to guess it because it's such a stupid moment.
Is
And
it,
I'm being a little pretentious here, but
is it something to? No, just tell me, because
it's when Economos spits in Tim Meadows' face.
Okay.
I jumped out of my chair. You know, I last episode and I posted a clip about this and people had their thoughts. Someone called me a racist for saying that I didn't like Tim Meadows' character.
Bruh.
No, that's cool. Think that all you
Bruh.
want. It's not true. I love Adebayo. Adebayo is one of my favorite characters, so fuck off. But anyways, I legitimately I posted a clip about saying that I will celebrate the day that Tim Meadows' character dies. This is the next best thing when Economos spits in his face. I jumped out of my chair so much I scared my cat.
Brother. Brother. Yeah, look, I figured it was.
Sorry
I
to
figured it
interrupt.
was.
There was someone in our comments section. I think it was on YouTube actually, on the YouTube short of that same clip talking about Tim Meadows' character. That was like, you do know that Tim Meadows is supposed to be Martian Manhunter, and it makes sense why he's acting the way he does because he is not a human and he doesn't know the cultures of humanity. I responded to your comment saying this, but I'm going to say it again. No, he's not Martian Manhunter, and if he's Martian Manhunter, I will be pissed because I've read Martian Manhunter before, not everything of Martian Manhunter, and I've watched a lot of Martian Manhunter stuff through different Justice League animated cartoons and obviously the live action stuff that he's done. This is nothing like any rendition of Martian Manhunter that's ever been put to screen before. So if this is James Gunn's answer to Martian Manhunter, I will be pissed.
I look. I don't think it's Martian Manhunter. Okay, I guess we're past the general thoughts at this point because we're just ranting about various things.
Yeah, no, we're past our general thoughts.
Let's start with how we think
Just kidding.
Tim Meadows might be Martian Manhunter. I don't think that's true. I don't think they would cast Tim Meadows as that. It's Martian Manhunter. That being said, if they did it, there have been worse ideas, and maybe Gunn has some sort of an idea which he would try to make it work. Again, I trust James Gunn. He's not Martian Manhunter. They would not cast Tim Meadows as Martian Manhunter. Tim Meadows is just playing his type, which is the really
he's the comedic relief, but the
he's
annoying
he's
comedic
yeah
relief.
he's just playing the well, and sometimes it's not even annoying. Like he plays a character in a TV show called The Goldbergs, which I really like. He plays one of the teachers, named Mr. Gladscott, and all he does is he's just a teacher. He's just doing his job, and he doesn't care. Like somebody's trying to argue with him about like a talent show. He goes, I just want to reiterate this. This is a school talent show. None of it matters. I'm like, way to tell the parents that. Good job. But no, that's Tim Meadows. That's that's his comedy. And he plays into his comedy really well here, so much so that he does still get some laughs out of me in this show. Like, it's not like he's god awful to me. But that being said, when his character does get what he deserves, I don't know if he's getting killed. I don't think he's gonna get that. I know you've been saying that you want his character to die. I don't think he's gonna die. I think his character will probably wind up in jail somewhere. Probably alongside Rick Sr. Because somehow we got to wrap that back into the fold, and I don't know how that's gonna happen. But no, there's no way he's Martian Manhunter. I would be very shocked if he was.
But ending the conversation about, like I said, we're out of general thoughts, but ending the conversation about Tim Meadows, because we've already ranted about Tim Meadows. Again, we love Tim Meadows. We do not hate Tim Meadows by any means. I'm only saying Tim Meadows because I forget his character's name. I think it's Langston, if I remember correctly.
I can tell you right now.
Yeah. I don't like the character that he's playing right now. And it's not Tim Meadows' fault. He's playing the character he was given
Langston.
really well. That doesn't mean I liked the character though. Anyways, moving off of Tim Meadows, I really enjoyed the Eagle Hunter is so stupid, but he's the stupid type of comedy that I do find a little bit more funny. I don't know if you agree with me on that. But
what is it with Michael Rooker and in every James Gunn property playing like he has such a weird range. Like he plays Yondu, who's just this absolute jerk who becomes a really lovable character in Guardians 2. Then he plays Savant in The Suicide Squad, who is just like this, like comes off as this really killer dude who then runs from the fray of the battle. And now we have him as this eagle hunter, like with the spirit of eagle. I don't fully understand it. It's so weird.
Eagle Hunter is the most James Gunn character you can think of. Other than like Weasel, it's like Eagle Hunter is like, yes, of course, James Gunn of all people made this a important character and the crux, because at the end of this episode, he's using his eagle hunting abilities of the Native American tribe or whatever to like astral project himself to track eagerly. So very clearly, he plays a crucial role in the hunt for Chris. But
Right.
it's that ridiculous humor. That's the type of ridiculous humor that I do find funny. Also,
I
when Economos thought he killed him,
well, he did like pretty much. I thought he killed him too. Like
I
I
thought
thought
he did kill him.
I thought when he pushed him, he hit his head up against a rock and he died. And I went, "That's it. That's where my like." At first, I was upset because I'm like, "That's what Michael Rooker does for the season. That's what you bring him in to do. You just kill him against a rock, which is fine, I guess." But it's like it's Michael Rooker.
Michael Rooker at this point is probably just doing it for the fun of the game. He doesn't care.
I'm trying to find out if this is like an origin, because I doubt it is. Because James Gunn usually does pull like from obscure comic book characters, but I want to know if this is a
I'm
comic book
pretty sure
character or
I'm pretty sure it is a James Gunn original, but
was this character in Creature Commandos?
not that I remember.
Okay, I don't know. I'm trying to figure this out because like I'm just seeing Michael Rooker's face. Like that's all I'm getting. Red Saint Wild DC Comics. Yeah, no, he is like
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's a James Gunn original.
Yeah, he's a J. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because there's nothing that's like saying that he
Yeah.
is 100%. Look, if we're wrong, please tell us in the comics or comics in the comments. But I had genuinely was like, I don't know if this is like an original character or not. The fact that it's an original character, my God.
It's again,
What?
it's just the essence of James Gunnisms.
It's James Gunn and Michael Rooker roped into one thing. And when
Yeah.
those here's what I'll say. When these two come together, it is destructive. it is absolutely destructive. And this is the first time where I actually went, "Ooh, Michael Rooker. Ooh, what did you do?" No, but he does. Here's what I will say: he plays the character very well. He's very funny. He has the type of humor for this character where I'm like, okay, that actually works wonders. It adds so much to this show. And I like that Economos, because I know your biggest complaint. So this is more of a question I have for you because I know that your biggest complaint was that Economos felt like he didn't really have much to do. Do you still feel that way now, or
No.
because he's actively helping out the team?
I think that's the other reason why I like this episode so much more than the other episodes is because Economos is being who I thought Economos was at the end of last season. He's still a
Sure.
hard ass. He's still a like socially awkward dude, but he does care about his friends. He is
Sure.
engaged in the group. He's texting Chris under the table. He's stalling for time to make sure that Chris can teleport the door away.
Right.
That stuff, it feels it honestly, I'm gonna be honest, it does make me look back at what I didn't like about Economos in the other episodes and be a lot more forgiving on it. Because my biggest fear was that they weren't going to have this part of Economos' arc. I don't know why I should have assumed that this is what they were going to do. But
Sure.
now that we know that this is what they're going to do, like, yes, I enjoy it a lot more, and I'm now a lot more forgiving on the
Sure. Well, and that's why I asked that because again, the part of the reason why you didn't really like the season is because you didn't know what they were doing with him. You didn't really feel like they were doing anything with him. And again, I opinions change as the course of a season goes on because again, like I even said earlier, you have to see the whole thing played out for you to actually go, okay, that actually works or that doesn't, to make your kind of like final decisions, because anything can change in the blink of an eye. Anything can change. And so I'm glad you feel more about it that way, and I'm glad it's actually going your way, and you're getting more of Economos actually doing something. Again, I didn't necessarily feel that way. I still felt like he did. You know, he played his role exactly what I thought he was going to play it as. I felt like they were going to build to this anyway. But I just was curious to know if you felt like you had seen more from him enough to where you were at least more content with what you were given.
Yeah, I think another thing, and you say we didn't really get many answers to questions. We did again, maybe this was just us being stupid, but we got a big answer to a big question that both of us had from last episode, and that was, is it this hardcore who had a relationship
Yeah,
with Peacemaker or with Rick Flag Jr. and what is the dynamic? What are her thoughts on the
that's true.
situation? We did get a lot of that, a lot more than I was expecting and a lot earlier. But that right there, I really liked that scene with Rick Flag Sr. coming in, having the
Yes.
conversation with her like a person. I have a question for you though.
Yeah.
Was it Amanda Waller or was it Rick Flag Sr.? Because I don't think it was Amanda Waller who railroaded hers, just based off of something suspicious going on with Rick Flag Sr. I have a feeling that he's using hardcore and her
Oh, most
feelings
definitely.
and obviously
Most
that's
definitely.
true, but do you think that a part of that is that he railroaded her career, or do you think that it was actually Amanda Waller?
I think it was Waller to a certain extent because Waller does still have power, and it would make the most
Yeah,
sense that Waller
obviously.
would
Yeah.
railroad her. Um, I think Flag is using Harcourt, but I don't think he was the one to derail her career. The most I could see is he didn't do it alone. It was a tag team between Waller and Flag. Because Flag uses it as an excuse to, okay, I'm going to remove Peacemaker's friends from the equation so that I can go after Peacemaker, especially once he becomes the director of Argus. When he gets to this
Mhm.
high level of authority, and he finds out who killed his son, how his son died, and now he's just on Chris the entire time. He obviously would probably want to remove the obstacles like that. Again, the only reason I don't know is because Economos is still working for Argus. So either he just doesn't see Economos as a threat and he just kept him around, or
No, because I think he views Hardcourt as, because he has that personal connection with her, he sees her as easier to manipulate
sure,
because he knows how to pull her strings and what strings to pull because of the relationship she had with Rick
sure,
Flag Jr.
right, sure. No, that makes sense. I I don't know. That's genuinely one of those things where now that you've brought it up and like I'm genuinely thinking about it, I don't know. I would like I would like to think that he probably didn't. Because I still don't think Flag Senior would go as far to do that. I think he would go as far as to try to do everything possible to kill Peacemaker or to get Peacemaker. I don't think he would go that far. I do think there still is that moral line that he's refusing to cross. Um,
I mean, he's definitely more of a human than Amanda Waller ever
he's
was.
more of a human than Amanda Waller is. Waller, yeah, Waller without hesitation would have done
Waller's a
whatever it took.
robot, and calling her a robot is being generous. Like, she is the
Right,
most soulless human being ever, which
right.
she serves her purpose, but at the same time, that comes at the cost of a lot. Like, there's a
No,
lot.
right, absolutely. So I think that I do think that there is. I think it's a wait and see type moment here
Mhm.
because I think that's like a hard question to answer. I also don't know if that's a question genuinely we'll ever get because maybe it's one that James Gunn just doesn't find important. I doubt it. I think we would, but I don't know. Um, that is definitely a I don't know. We'll wait and see type of a question.
Yeah. Another question that we did get an answer to, and I guess it's not necessarily a question we thought we had. I guess it kind of is, the origin of the door.
Yeah, which
We
I
got a
actually
big answer to the question of both Peacemaker's dad and was he actually as smart as everyone thought he was, and the door. We still don't have an answer on certain things, like it still opens up the question of the helmets because we didn't get an answer on that. And Peacemaker just said
sure.
it's complicated. I think we're gonna get an answer, but curious your thoughts on that.
No, honestly, that was a question I didn't even really ask over the past few weeks, and I actually wish I would have because it actually is like I didn't even put it together. Like his dad really isn't like he's not like a NASA scientist. And even NASA scientists would struggle to create something like that's a Lex Luthor level project. And even Lex
Yeah.
Luthor still did like almost end the world with his gate to a pocket
An
universe.
alternate dimension, yeah.
So I will say this. I'm surprised it didn't cross my mind. I'm glad we have an answer for that. It's also clear that we kind of had to have an answer for it because we had to give the excuse of, oh yeah, we can just move the door going here. We did have to have that excuse. So I'm glad they did it and told us that so that it makes sense. The helmets. Oh my God. Is there a chance that his dad could have killed another universe version? Like, could his dad have traveled, gotten helmets from somewhere else? Do you think that's a possibility, or do you think that
I do think that the whole "it's complicated" thing is he stole the helmets from another universe.
it
I
could?
do think that. Now, is it the universe where his dad is good?
No,
Maybe. I don't
I
think
wouldn't. I
so.
wouldn't think that.
That would be a little bit too much of a connection for me. I wouldn't really like that. I do think it is something. Here's the thing. It's either he stole them from another universe or he found someone who's going to be a big reveal pop that he manipulated into making him the helmets, or manipulated his dad, like manipulated Chris's dad into thinking that he was getting a good deal and he was being used the whole time. That would be very interesting.
It could be that,
I'm not saying
or
it's going to be Lex Luthor, but
there is hidden option number 3, where it's just as simple as it's the aliens' helmets. And they just took them. That is also hidden option number 3, where it's not as
true.
exciting, but it's also like, that makes sense, and we got an answer to it. All right, whatever, fine, I'll give you a pass. You know, there is that hidden option number 3 where I'm like, all right, I guess technically that would work. I don't like it as much, but it could work.
I might be misremembering, but wasn't there a line of dialogue in season 1 about getting more helmets? In the sense of there is a possibility to get more? I might be misremembering here, but if that's the case, I don't think it's as simple as he just got the whole collection from the alien that he killed that gave him the gate, and that there is either somewhere or someone that he's getting them from.
I would believe. I only said that as like an option of like that could be an option. I don't
Yeah,
think
no,
that's the option. I would think that there's like a
yeah.
benefactor who's building these things. I just don't know who, and I don't know if it's gonna be like a big pop as much as it might be a reveal. God, that's such an interesting question that you ask it, because I genuinely wasn't thinking about this one. Like, did he genuinely create the helmets or not?
Well, we know he didn't, because Peacemaker says in the
Right.
episode that he didn't. The question is, again, where did they come from then? All
Right.
we get from Peacemaker
Who
is very
did?
complicated. And
Right.
I definitely think that that's going to be a question that we don't answer until the end of this season, and it might just be a hint as to what that is, and that sets up season 3, or maybe not even setting up season 3, just setting up the future of Peacemaker.
Sure. Because obviously it hasn't been announced yet. I do, based on where the season's going, think there is going to be a season 3. I would doubt that it ends here with season 2. The only other option I could see is they do a Peacemaker movie instead of a TV show, but I don't like that. They have the show going, just continue the show.
Yeah.
I don't really see that
Peacemaker
working
will
out
definitely appear in movies. That's not a doubt in my mind. He will appear somewhere in movies at some point in time.
Oh yes.
I don't think we're ever going to get a Peacemaker movie, though, because why? Why would we need a Peacemaker movie when we already have the TV show that, to my knowledge, is doing pretty well?
Right. And so honestly, here's the question I want to ask. I feel like I asked this after Superman, or maybe I didn't, but I'm just curious. Don't laugh when I say this, because you might think I'm really stupid when I ask this.
Make no promises.
Is Peacemaker the Tony Stark of James Gunn's DC universe?
Can you get, I think I know where you're going with that, but there's multiple different directions. So I want to make sure before I laugh at you that I know which specific like what aspect of Tony Stark? Are you talking about he's the connective tissue that kind of started it all? In a sense?
Kind of, yeah. Let's start with that, and then I'll morph it. Like, because it's a weird, because you want to say Superman, is the connective tissue that's like burning it down, but Peacemaker already has happened. Technically, it's the Suicide Squad that would be the first thing, and they did say that's official.
What I'll give you is Peacemaker has done way more for the current DCU in terms of building out the world, establishing characters, establishing the dynamics of Argus and the wider world of metahumans than Superman did in his one movie. However, that is only because we got him in 3 different projects already. Well, technically 2, but we got him in The Suicide Squad, we got him in Peacemaker Season 1, and we got him in Peacemaker Season 2.
Right.
Now, Superman has the potential with, technically, he has Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which I don't know if he's going to play a big role in, probably not, but we at least have Superman Man of Tomorrow that is going to play a big role in the wider DCU, of course, because we did get confirmation from James Gunn himself. This is going to be a joint Lex, and so he said specifically it is going to be just as much a Lex movie as it's going to be a Superman movie.
Yes,
which obviously gets a lot of us intrigued, but
it's like a team up movie or something is what I actually heard him say, is like the actual like term is what he used.
Correct.
It was a team up movie, and that it was just as much as like yeah.
But going back to Peacemaker, I think it's hard to say definitively yes, but thinking about it, I can't tell you that you're stupid or that you're like definitively wrong either, because even though we haven't gotten Peacemaker in anything but those like season 1, season 2, and The Suicide Squad, his reach has been felt in the it is propagated throughout the wider DCU in the establishing nature that this season specifically, but this show as a whole has had.
Right. Well, and also, like, I know he didn't play a pivotal role in the film, but he was in Superman. Like, he made a cameo, and he was like on this news outlet. So he's big enough to where he's on like this big news channel talking about super. Like, it's just such a messy conversation to have, because is he the focal point? Is he not? I want to say yes, but also I don't see 10 years down the line him making the Tony Stark sacrifice. That's
the thing. That's the reason why I'll say probably not, because I feel like Peacemaker only feels like that now because he's the character we've had the most time with. He's the character that's connected the most. But we also have a ton of properties that are upcoming that I feel like are definitely going to change our perspective on the characters in the DCU as a whole.
Yeah.
So I think for now, yes. But I fully agree with you that I don't think we're going to think of him the same way in 10 years from now, like we thought of Iron Man in Endgame.
Right. It's an interesting question to ask. That's why I wanted to ask him, because I didn't know what you genuinely thought about that. It's, I don't know. It's weird. We'll figure it out as we get more and more deeper down the rabbit hole. But for now, I'm just like, I was just curious.
Yeah. Also, your theory of the other universe. I know we didn't really talk because we didn't go to the other universe. Everyone on the internet is convinced it's Earth X at this point. Like every single comment section, IGN posted about it, saying that they're pretty sure it's Earth X.
Well, and also and that's why I'm also saying, like, we saw David Cornsweet that he was not, maybe he wasn't on set, but he was in a Superman suit standing next to Amelia, and they had a photo that was not leaked, but they literally just posted. I'm just saying it very well could be an Earth X world. And that wasn't even my theory. That was somebody else's that I read online that I was like, nope, that actually makes total sense. I really like that. I want to run with that. More and more as we go on and on, I'm thinking about that theory even more. And we didn't even get anything this week with the other universe, but I still think it is. As we go, especially as Adebayo. Let's talk about this, because I was going to ask this. The conversation that Chris and Adebayo have was incredible. It's one of the best scenes I think they've had in this entire show, but she even talks about how this world may not be what you think it is. Like
And I
she
think
literally
specifically coming from Adebayo gives you some hints.
right. And he's in such disbelief. Like, my brother's alive. Like that's a great thing. My father is not a jerk. Amelia and I are in a relationship in which she actively wants to be in the relationship with me. You know, he's talking about all these things, which is great, but doesn't mean that the rest of the world isn't horrible. And he doesn't know about this universe. He knows nothing. He knows about what's going
He
on in
knows
his
his
area.
brother and dad are alive and that he has a chance with Hardcore. That's like the only thing he knows. And it's the only thing he really cares about at this point in time.
Right. And well, then that's why when Adebayo literally dropped that line, I'm like, okay, it's probably Earth X. Like more now than ever. And if it's not, there's still something wrong with that universe. Like if it's not Earth X, there's still something wrong with it. But it's just a matter of what is it. So I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see where that goes. Overall, and I want to stress this again because we are really off today for whatever reason.
No, we're not off. I'm just hopped up on hate today.
I guess apparently.
This is full of haterade right now.
Apparently. I didn't hate this episode. I still think the show is just as strong as it has been. I just, in my opinion, of all the episodes, again, maybe episode 1, the more I think about it, this is probably my least favorite. Just because it had its really good moments, but the majority of the episode is genuinely dedicated to killing Eagly and breaking into the house to get the door. That's the majority of it. But within that process, you get the really good conversation with Adebayo. You get Economos actually stepping up to do something, to finally do something this season. You get the wonderful conversation between Rick Flag Sr. and Amelia, where it's building those characters out and fleshing out all of that more too. There's really good things in this episode, just from start to finish. Unlike, last week's episode where I really loved the entire episode from start to finish. I liked this new reality. I liked what they brought to it. This episode, it just felt like the higher moments were in bits versus the entire episode being one big high point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. Wrapping up my thoughts, like I definitely think this is my favorite episode of the season, even after talking about it. But I do understand why it's weaker for you. I think it's just those moments is why I like Peacemaker so much. The moments that you called out, I'm not saying I hold them in a higher regard than you do, getting off the hate train. I do think, though, that because that is like the main reason that I love the show so much is why I hold this episode in higher regard, is that conversation with Adebayo in the car. It is the moments where Economos is stepping up. It is that conversation with Rick Flag and Hardcore that is just building out the characters, building out. You say we didn't get much out of this episode, but I think through all of those conversations, we got hints to what is gonna come. We did get some big slap in the face answers, but a lot of the stuff that we got was kind of in the intricacies of each conversation that we had with each of the characters connecting with each other. So I think that's what I really connected with. But at the end of the day, I understand why this wouldn't be as high for some people. But yeah, wrapping up our conversation about Peacemaker, we are moving in to our next conversation, and I'm going to read a quick poem. I'm going to read a really quick poem.
Oh my God.
This is written by, I'll tell you who it's written by afterwards. It's a really short poem. Okay. I got home and felt sick like the boys in The Long Walk. I had to take a wicked shit. Didn't need to know that. ... This is the text message that I get from the one and only Juggernaut over here after he gets back. That's the only conversation we've had about this movie, was that singular text message. So, Carson, what are your thoughts on The Long Walk? You had to know that I was going to read that on the podcast.
I didn't expect you to read it. I didn't expect you to read it.
You've read my text messages on the podcast.
Yeah. I still didn't expect you to read it. Now, okay, so last week we talked about caught stealing, and I'm pulling that up as an example because this film is kind of similar in the sense of it's really well done. It's a really well done ensemble cast. Obviously, you have your center focus character, but it's the ensemble cast that kind of makes up the world, makes up this entire film. Caught stealing, I said, I don't know if I'm generally ever going to watch it again. It was good. It was just bizarre. It had all these things about it, but it was definitely very well done and well executed. The Long Walk. I've never read this book. Obviously, it's a Stephen King property. I know you're not a Stephen King fan, but I am phrasing this for you, so you know.
Wrong.
You are a
I
Stephen
have
King
probably read more Stephen King than you have.
fan. I guarantee you have.
Pet Sematary is one of my favorite books of all time.
Didn't know that. Glad you told me that.
Now, I would not say I'm a Pet Sematary fanatic, or sorry, not Pet Sematary.
Sure.
I do love Pet Sematary. I would not say I'm a Stephen King fanatic. My uncle has owned and read every single Stephen King. The one thing he gets for Christmas every year from my grandma is whatever Stephen King books released that year. And I, through that, have read a few Stephen King books. This is not one of them, but I do want to add that clarification that I would consider myself a casual fan of Stephen King.
Point of why I'm saying is I movie wise, let me specify that. Movie wise, I don't think you're a Stephen King fan. I don't even know if you've seen any.
I think this is the only Stephen King movie I've seen. Yeah, so probably. That's fair.
It's funny because he does write different genres and he writes for these different types of films. Like Shawshank Redemption is not like it. The Green Mile is not like The Shining. Very different films, but written by the same people, and also does still feel the same. Like, I will say Stephen King does a really good job of, like, I know it's all writers, but Stephen King really does do a good job with, like, even though his stories are completely different, like one could be based in reality and they're going to be like a supernatural type event, it still feels the same. Like, you can still feel like that's Stephen King writing, that's Stephen King doing this. The Long Walk falls in the camp for me of something like The Shawshank Redemption. Not on the same level of like, oh, it's as good as The Shawshank Redemption, but it feels like a Shawshank Redemption type story where it's more based in reality. And I say that because when I'm watching this film obviously is filled with, it's just walking and being with characters. And you get to see this build of this relationship between these two friends who eventually become brothers. It is probably my favorite relationship that has been done this year in any film this year. It is a beautiful build. It is a very wonderful build to watch. And, you know, deviating from just like the two men itself, the entire ensemble cast of just these men, this film is carried on the back of the acting of these men. And it is so well done. And it's so appealing to just watch this happen. The movie also is written very, very well. And it's a hard thing. Again, with it being a movie about boys just walking, there's no big action set pieces. There's no real score. Like, it does have a score, but it's not as prevalent as you probably would think it would be. It literally is just these men talking, having a conversation. It's really well done. And the tension for each scene is within that conversation. As the film goes on, you see your characters start to get more tired, or things happen to your characters that you're just like, oh, that's so sad. That's so depressing. I genuinely got more emotional, and not at all of them. I am going to say that now. I didn't get emotional at all of the men, but there were some where I'm like, that's actually really beautiful. And I like the way they ended that, or the way they wrote that. It was really well done. It has some pretty good celebrity guests that are in this film. I'm very high on this movie. That being said, this is also the type of film like a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where this film gets better on rewatch. I don't think this is you watch it once and you can immediately rank it, because I can't. This genuinely may be a film that will be in my top 5 for the year so far, but I don't know yet, because I feel like I have to sit through it one more time to kind of come up with that conclusion, because there was a lot that happened at once. I like this movie. If you can't tell.
Sorry,
Uh,
I'm waiting to make sure you're done because I want to make sure you get all your thoughts out before I hop in here.
that
But
was it. I was just finishing it because all that said, I liked the movie. I really did. Go, go ahead.
so I have not read this book, and I'm going to add this note really quickly. I wasn't sure where I would add this, but I was going to bring it up. I had a brief conversation with someone as I was leaving the theater who actually read the book right before they watched the movie. They did say, and I have heard this through rumblings online, there are changes to the book. One
Okay.
big notable one being in the movie, they have to walk consistently at 3 miles an hour. In the book, it's 4 miles an hour. I don't know if you've ever walked. 4 miles an hour is really fucking fast. And Stephen King himself is apparently the one who suggested that change
Yeah.
because he realized when the actors were actually having to walk, and in reality, that 4 miles an hour for hundreds of miles is impossible. You can you can stroke your own dick as much as you want, thinking that you're man enough to walk at 4 miles an hour for 400 miles. I'd like to see you do it for 10.
Sure.
Like, unless you're some big macho walker or in the military, you're not doing it. I'm just telling you now. It is
Sure.
4 miles an hour is very fast. This is coming from someone, Carson knows this. I'm one of the fastest walkers that is in our entire group
Oh,
of everyone that we
absolutely.
know.
Absolutely. I've
And I
walked
walk
doing numerous conventions.
consistently at over 4 miles an hour. It is not easy to do that for hundreds of miles through sleep. So, those types of changes I feel like are necessary for me. Because if they would have said 4 miles an hour, I think it immediately would have taken me out of the reality that this movie sits in.
Sure.
And I bring that up because, like Carson said, this movie very much feels like it's set in a dystopian reality. I've heard a lot of people talking about how this is like, it feels like the Hunger Games type of reality. I
Yeah.
think that this feels a little bit more real than the Hunger Games,
Yes.
only in the sense of the core of this movie is how down to earth every aspect of this movie is. Every single conversation that they have between characters in this movie, whether it's between the main two or one guy who shows up for literally 5 seconds, it is, I'm going to say this right now, this is the best acted movie of the year.
Yes.
I don't think that's a controversial take to say.
No.
I said this in my review. I really hope that people don't forget about this cast at the end of the year when the award season comes around. I'm not saying all of them need to win awards, but genuinely, down to 1 second characters and 1 hour characters, this movie is expertly acted, from their emotions on their faces to the moments where they're speaking to the moments where they're not
Sure.
speaking. You feel so connected to them. I felt so connected to all of them, both from a hatred perspective for some of them and a love and admiration perspective for others. I think that I've talked about this on the podcast before. I have a big problem with movies that feel like they're out of place shoving a political message down your throat, where you're watching a movie that isn't political inherently and they take a very important political message, fuck it up, and shove it down your throat. The
Right.
core of this movie is a very, very clear political message. It has something to say, and we're going to talk about that because it is such a core part of this movie. But
Sure.
because it is so interwoven in through, you're seeing that political message through the eyes of characters that have experienced the harm of this world and what has led to this. It doesn't feel forced down your throat. It feels like you're just watching people living in a fucked up world and talking about why we need to change it. It makes you feel, oh wow, I can't believe that these characters are going through this. I feel so connected because I can either relate or I know people who have gone through that. Because, yes, this is a dystopian world, but all the problems that they bring up are human problems. They're
Yes.
problems that might seem big and outlandish because the long walk might seem big and outlandish, but all of us have a long walk that we go through. We all have a moment in our life where we have to push ourselves beyond our limits to accomplish something that might not even happen.
Sure.
A big example of that, this podcast. There are hundreds of podcasts out there. Very few of them make it to the end and make millions of dollars and get to make wishes like going to premieres. I'm not saying we're ever going to make it there, but this would be an example of a long walk. I view the long walk as kind of an analogy for the struggles that we all go through as people, because while we might not all be going through something where we get shot in the head, if we fail, we all have a definitive moment that determines whether or not we're going to succeed and whether or not we are strong enough to persevere through the amount of sometimes literal shit that we
Sure.
have to go through.
Sure.
This movie is going to be in my top 5. This year of movies is exceptional. I'm gonna wrap. I've been ranting a lot, and I've been holding back tears this entire time just because I've never felt the way at the end of a movie ever in the history of watching honestly any piece of content than I felt at the end of this movie. I legitimately could not stand at the end of this movie. I was so emotionally exhausted and destroyed. I was dry heaving and sobbing so hard in the theater at moments in this movie that I will never forget, and the way that they made me feel. So I know that was a very long winded first thought. I'm so excited to get into the intricacies of this movie for the good. And yes, I don't think this is a perfect movie. I can agree. I do think that the good of this movie outshines those imperfect moments
Yes.
because I can identify what is imperfect about this movie very, very easily. I do think that the imperfect of this movie is served up on a platter just because of all the good stuff is so good
Yeah.
that when there is something that's weaker, it does stand out a little bit more. But I don't think that detracts from the movie whatsoever.
Let's start with the first thing that I feel like this film does suffer from, and it's most horror films that also suffer from this too. You have like a solid 7 people in this movie where they're given enough where you're like, oh, that looks good, and then the rest they get like the general stereotypical like cannon fodder things. Like the guy who's writing a book, the guy who's writing a book is probably gonna die. I don't think that that's any secret. And I'm trying to think of like other examples. That was just like the first one that came to my mind because I'm still
Well,
thinking about him
so
walking on his friggin' ankle the entire time.
because you brought that up, this is something that I thought about as I was leaving the theater. Once I finally regained consciousness from like I cannot kid you enough. I literally could not stand at the end of this movie. I was so drained from the
Sure.
experience. But when I finally like regained like this movie, you know who's going to be the final two. You know it's going to be Peter. You know it, and you know it's going to be Garrity. You know it's going to be those two. Do I wish that they would have subverted our expectations? No. And I'm going to tell you why. Because, yes, you know that the cannon fodder is going to be cannon fodder. You know that this movie is not going to subvert your expectations and be a big twist. And, oh my God, I can't believe that they killed the character that we were following. I did not expect that.
Sure.
Now, there were some moments that maybe I would have like I was actually very suspenseful and I was like, "Oh shit, are they going to go there?" But when they didn't, I wasn't upset about it because I feel like the point of this movie isn't that you don't know who's going to make it and who's going to die. Obviously, between those two, it was a toss up. I didn't know who was going to survive between Peter and Garrity.
Sure.
That was hard to watch when it was inevitably Peter,
Sure.
but because you're not surprised, I don't think it detracts from this movie for me because that's not the point. The
Sure.
point is
Right.
the conversations. The point is building out characters that might only play a small role in your life, but have such a big impact on why you keep going and why you continue pushing.
Right. Yeah.
But I do I want to get it wrong. Sorry, I want to get this straight. I understand the complaint and I don't fault people for having it in the sense of, yes, it is predictable.
Yeah, I mean, but like again, it's a film, and the way they set it up, you have your cannon fodder people, and you have your core set people. That's all I was trying to say. Uh, like that's
Sorry,
very
I have a
evident.
lot to say about this movie.
No, I can tell you're like a kid on Christmas, giddy with excitement. Um, you have those things, and so it does obviously like cut some suspension for somebody. Like it's still you're waiting for the violence to come, and that's the suspension I think for those people specifically because you know it's probably going to be really gruesome. But then once you like actually like in the movie, once you dwindle down to like your core cast, when you, I think Hank is like the first actual character of the core where you're like, okay, that's the first one that you actually kind of care about because you start the movie off with him and he is he's legit the one who you're I don't know how to say it. He's
It's not that you are rooting for him to win specifically, but you believe that he's going to make it farther than he admittedly does. Like, he makes it pretty far, but you can kind of tell the point of no return for him. And that point of no return personally came a lot sooner than I was expecting.
Yes. I would say because I'm trying to talk the negatives first because the positives outweigh the negatives.
Yeah. No, I get it.
I think my least favorite of the core people was probably Parker. Just because it's not like they didn't give him anything, but they also really didn't give him anything. he was kind of like the straight man versus everybody else who had something to do. The way he went out was really cool. He took out a soldier on his way out. Good God.
Yeah.
Grabbing the carbine and shooting him. But there wasn't much for Parker to do beyond like, okay, he is just another I guess voice who, you know, is just like he's a kind spirit, kind soul. That's basically who Parker was. There wasn't anything beyond.
You could tell that he was good into his like in his core. He was a good person, but he obviously had a lot more of a rough exterior because of the way that he believed that was going to get him through and pushing other people aside while still wanting to feel connected enough to get him through.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. He was definitely probably my least favorite. That's not like saying he did a bad job. He gave a bad performance. It's just I think he wasn't given as much, and I don't think that's actually the writing. I think that's just the way Stephen King wrote the book. Is like not everybody can get a big shining stellar moment. His big shining stellar moment was the way he went out. That's the thing that he did,
which to me was it fit his character so well because he's the character that was flipping off the cops and he was so anti-establishment, like so vocally anti-establishment that him going out, taking out another soldier made so much sense, but it still hurt so bad.
Right. You had talked already about how you were shocked by the ending. You didn't know what the ending was. I also didn't know what the ending was. I've never read this book. Funny enough, before I left to see the film, my father had stopped me because I was like, oh, I'm going to the movies. I'm going to go watch this Stephen King thing. He goes, The Long Walk? I go, yeah. He goes, so funny story about that is I read that in high school. I'm like, okay. He goes, do you know the premise? I go, no, not really. And the trailers really didn't sell me on the movie either. That's what I also will say. The trailers did not sell me on this film. You know,
that's fair.
You know, at the beginning of this week, Brandon, just we were really like, do we want to see anything other than The Long Walk? Is there anything else we can see? Like
I'm so glad that we did, but yes, we did have that conversation.
We were not as enthusiastic about this.
Correct. Neither of us. I want to get that right. Neither of us were like so gung ho for let's go see this movie. And it's so funny looking back. I'm like, dude, this is easily in probably both of our top fives now. That's how crazy this is.
It's just funny because that's the way I felt. And it really was the trailer. The trailer didn't sell me on this film. It didn't give me anything to where I was like, oh, I absolutely have to watch this film. I genuinely thought the trailer looked stupid. Like that was my genuine thought. I was like, I don't really want to see that. That just doesn't look good. Then the reviews started coming out. People praising this movie for being as good as it was. Obviously having the few problems that it did, but it was very well put together and very well done. Now I have to see this movie because I'm curious. And it turned out to be a very beautiful film. Writing wise, because I know we were talking about something. Writing wise, the ending. Oh my god, dude! I could see the pinpoints of what they were setting up. Like I knew the moment that Pete said what he wanted, I thought the ending might factor into that. I knew when Ray said what he wanted, that was also going to be a factor into the ending. The way I thought this was going to end was Ray was so gung-ho about killing the Major that I thought it was actually going to be a feel-good ending. Because not all of Stephen King's stories do end as tragic. Like,
I did not think that this movie was going to be feel-good, but I understand what you're going for.
I was hoping it was going to end more positively, because not every single Stephen King book does end
In the
in a
most
tower.
tragic way ever.
Right. Shawshank Redemption ends with, I'm not going to spoil it because I want you to watch that movie at some point, ends on a more positive note. The It book does end on a more positive note. They beat back Pennywise. They end it.
They win the day. Yeah.
They win the day. Not every Stephen King book or story ends in a more dour note. So that being said, I thought Ray was going to win. And I thought he was going to have a change of heart because he's traveled with Pete this whole time. And his wish was going to be, I want him to be alive. I want him to stay alive. That's my wish. Don't kill him. That's what I thought was going to happen. So my God, when Ray stopped moving and he got shot in the head, I was like, Pete's going to give the carbine. He's totally going to wish for the carbine. He's going to kill the major. I think that's how the film's going to end. And I'm going to sit here. I'm going to be a bloody mess when he does it.
Yep.
That was my literal, like, the moment
Yep.
he was shot and he was lying there, I was like, he's gonna wish for the carbine. Like that, like the whole thing changed to the last second.
Yeah, you and I locked in, same exact thought, and I was a blubbering mess.
And I couldn't help but sit there and go, frick you, Stephen King. Why would you write this? And why is it so good? Why would you do that? No, I didn't know what the ending was going to be. I thought I knew, and then when a specific moment in the finale happened, I was like, nope, this is it. This is how it's going to end, and I hate that. It's not... Okay, here's what I will say about this, and I'm going to let you talk about this part, because you probably will agree to this more than I will, because I can watch things easier. This is not an easy film to watch.
No. This is... Like I already said, I have legitimately never felt this way after watching pretty much anything in my life. Like, there's probably one or two things that have come close to the emotional toll that this has taken on me. I'm going to tell this story real quick. I got out of the theater, shiveling mess. I was absolutely in shambles. I sent the most embarrassing voice memo I've ever sent in my life. I refuse to listen to it back because I sound horrible. Because I was like in tears. I sent a voice memo to a friend of mine, and I was like, "You are not allowed to not see this movie because I know that he's going to enjoy this movie." Funny enough, he also said the trailers were eh. So I'm curious. I'm probably going to go see it with him again on Sunday. But when he asked me originally, he was like, "Oh, you want to go see it with me on Sunday?" I was like, fuck no. I don't know if I ever want to watch this movie again. Now that I'm a little bit like off of it, I do really want to see this movie again. But no, the emotional toll that this takes on you, even if you know who's going to make it and who's not, is still so hard.
Well, and it's
Like,
the violence and the tension too. That ropes everything together, because like, this film is brutal. Oh my
yeah,
God.
that first death was so... It was the perfect first death I've ever seen. Because first of all, it's clearly he's not 18. It is
Right.
set up from the get-go that Curly is not 18. He
Right.
is at best probably 16. He's doing this so that he can help his family. Like, we don't get much with him, but I think that he personifies the perfect example of why every single death and why every single character in this movie feels like it matters so much, because you get nothing about Curly other than he's probably underage, but that immediately connects you to him. It immediately endears you to him. So watching when he gets shot through the head and his jaw like comes off of his face.
Yep.
I almost puked. There were multiple times in this movie where I actively, like, legitimately almost puked. Not because of how gruesome it was. I can handle some gruesome natures, but just because of the gruesomeness combined with the emotion that you feel for each death was, in my opinion, like, unmatched.
Right. Yeah. It like what I mentioned in my general thoughts, tension. And that's a good way to say this whole film, like describe it in like one word, because there's not, pretty much from that first death onward, there's not one bit of this film where you're not in some sort of tension. And it's because you watch your boys get actively weaker as the film goes on. The only one who does remain consistent throughout the entire thing is Pete. He's the only one who does, but I don't know if that's because like he does look like he gets more tired. He clearly gets tired, but he's the only one who remains like the constant line. He's the uplifting, like, that's Pete's thing, is he's the uplifting one. He's got your back type thing. And he's like the only one who doesn't actively get more and more desperate. Like Stebbins gets sick. Hank, also I think kind of he either gets tired or he genuinely just gets
Well,
like
so
sick.
Hank got screwed over early on because we obviously had the thing with the Charlie horse. But then soon after, Hank also gets like that weird tingling sensation in his
Yeah,
legs, and then that kind of follows him throughout the course of the movie. That right there, I think he knew the second that happened. You could see the God, it's so fucking well acted. The emotional breakdown that he has, even as he tries to cover up the fact that he knows that he's screwed. The line of dialogue about him saying, "I'm done when this gum is done." Oh, and then he picks the gum out of his mouth and looks, I'm gonna cry again. Like that stuff right there is just so
it's well written.
perfect.
It's well written, it's well acted, and it creates a really beautiful moment. And I actually, specifically about that moment, I love when Baker runs back to him, because it's more of a religious thing, but his friend's actively dying, and Baker's just saying like he needs me because I'm the only one like I'm the only one here who's like religious, and he like I don't remember what the line is exactly. That is also one of my complaints in this movie, which I'll get to later. I couldn't figure out what the line was, but I thought he was like he was picturing like I can see it. God's heaven is like wheat fields or something. I don't know if that's what it was, but it was like something
Yeah,
along that. And
I
that's
know
why
what you're going for.
Baker
It's something along those lines.
and that's why Baker ran back to go like, comfort him or whatnot. But obviously Baker, couldn't because he'd be dead too. That was such a really tender moment, and that actually, in my opinion, fleshed out Baker more. I already liked Baker's character, but that
Yeah.
really fleshed him out more.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then watching the way, again, I can't, it's so hard to talk about this movie and keep the tears back. But like, because of that scene with Hank, when Baker goes down and he's like, guys, I know it's my time. He's being held up by Pete. And he's like, guys, I have two. He had two requests. He's like, one, please give this necklace to my grandma.
Sure.
Oh, the next one is, whatever you do, please don't turn around. And that is just such a like, he wants his friends to remember. It's kind of like the whole I want to go down with my head held high line that we had. And it's just such a, in your final moments, knowing that you're gone, what do you want people to remember? And
Sure.
it's just moments like that that just feel so real.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna bring up another one. And I'm gonna say this, and you're gonna disagree with it. I have a feeling you're gonna disagree with it. I'm curious to see if you agree with me after I say it. Barkovich is one of my favorite characters in the movie. Barkovich is the guy who is called killer throughout the entire course of the movie, or until he dies, because he is definitively, whether he denies it or not, responsible for someone else's death. He is very much the sandpaper character. Everyone hates him. He is so easily hateable right off the bat. And that's why I love his character so much, because I hated his guts. I was so ready to celebrate his death, like the rest of the boys who were like, we're going to spit on you. We're going to cheer. Barkovich, there was literally a line that was like, Barkovich, when you die, I will celebrate.
Yeah.
Then to watch him to go down the way that he did, with him losing parts of his humanity and losing his mind, in the line of dialogue of, I just want to be a part of something. I never had anything going for me. I never had a group of friends. I understand that I'm not likable. I understand that I rub people the wrong way, but I want to be a part of something. And those lines of dialogue where he's slowly losing himself, him just going, fuck, and just being degraded by the fact of the reality of what he's done. He can't grapple with the fact that he knows he's guilty. He tries so hard to forgive himself and to get others to forgive him, because he can't believe the reality of the situation that they're living in and what he just did.
Sure.
Another human being, whether he knows that that was going to happen either way, he knows that it is his responsibility and he can't live with it anymore. So he has no other choice, but he He takes his own life in such a terrible way. He has the spoon in his hand, and it makes you think that he is going to kill the other characters. He has a line where he's like, Pete, I have a plan for you. Like, oh, I'm gonna do something. Like, I'm gonna. It makes him so hateable to
Sure.
the actual reality of the situation being he's just sad and alone and can't believe that he did what he did. It is one of the best written characters in the entire movie because you cannot help but despise everything that he stands for. And then the way that he goes out, whether or not you forgive him or not, is irrelevant. It's just the way that it happens in the, I don't know. Like, I love
So
that.
Barkovich's character is not my favorite.
Mhm.
That being said, he's still a very well written character. I like the way he was written. I wish they gave him like one or two more. Like, we got moments throughout with him where you could see he regretted what he did. I wish we got just like one or two more so we could have built it out longer. What they gave us wasn't bad, and I'm actually content with it. I wanted slightly a bit more from him in that regard, but I don't disagree with you. I really like the way his character went out. I like the idea that he's just somebody who wants to be a part of something. He, clearly his entire life has pushed people away, or because of the way he is, has not had many friends or whatnot. And so this is the first time he gets the opportunity. And, he clearly has this moment in which genuinely, when he has his arm around Ray, I thought he was going to stab Ray.
And I think that is the way that scene is supposed to play, and that's why I think it's so well written.
Yeah. And so it's a very well written moment. I think at the end of the day for him, and this isn't a negative thing, it's just the more I think about it, the more I do wish we would have gotten maybe like one or two more scenes to build towards it. I got the emotional impact, but I feel like it would have really driven it home like the rest of the guys.
Yeah.
If we had that.
I think I'll say this now. I thought this again after I came to consciousness after the emotional impact of this movie. My one complaint that I have that I do think is it is still overshadowed by how good this movie is, but I think I wish this movie was longer. This movie is about an hour and 48 minutes. I think it is a long movie. I think every single like complaint that we would both have about this movie would easily be fixed by another 15 to 20 minutes. And I think that if we got the 15 to 20 minutes that I could think of out of this movie, I think it would be no question that this was easily my number one movie of the year. And again, I don't see a world where this is not in my top 5. But at the same time, what would have pushed it over the edge, I agree, would have been another scene with Barkovich. It would have been another scene with Hank. It would have been one more scene with each character. But I think that also is what makes this movie so good, is that it makes you care so much with so little.
Yeah, and I not like 20 to 15. At most, I feel like 5 to 10. This film does something which really works well, which is that the film doesn't overstay its welcome. Because I do see a world where they could have made this film longer, and it really drags. This film is perfectly paced, and
I will say
it doesn't overstay its welcome.
Yeah, this movie does not waste a single millisecond of time. Not a single millisecond of time is wasted in this entire movie. Even the moments where there's no dialogue and there's just walking, it is not a waste of time. It just serves the purpose of that moment. And if you don't agree, then you don't get the point of the movie, in my opinion.
Sure. Let's talk about the last death and the last moment. We already kind of talked about the final scene, but specifically it's the way Ray goes out and how he dies the same way his father did, which is more of a heartwarming thing at the end. Like, yeah, you want to see him win. It is a heartwarming thing because his father, chose to die for what he believed in and gave his son a good life. And granted, Pete obviously wishes for the carbine, doesn't wish for his wish. Ray wants to do the same thing that his father did, which is give Pete the thing that he believes he deserves. This entire time, Ray has been helped out by Pete. Ray has helped Pete, but Pete has significantly been the anchor point for Ray. And
yeah,
this is kind of his way of like, thank you please win this, and he basically gives him that option. Rey's death is a emotionally satisfying one. We think it's still horrible, but when you look at it, the way that he goes out like his father, and the fact that he chooses that, is a very full circle arc and a very emotionally satisfying way to go out. If he had won, it also would have been emotionally satisfying. But I think that the fact that he chose to go out the way he did specifically does complete his arc full circle, and it shows how far he's come to grow, which is he went into this with the idea of, I want the carbine to kill the major. That's why I want to win. That's why I want to do this. And he ends up laying his life down for Pete. That's the way he chooses to go out. And it's very, it's just beautiful. It's really well written.
I think another line of dialogue in this movie, it should have told us how this movie was going to end looking back, but it is admittedly right before the end happens, but it's the line of dialogue of, do you think it's going to rain tonight?
Yeah.
That line of dialogue kind of tells you everything you need to know about the end of this movie, in the sense of that dialogue kind of tells you who's made up their mind of who's finishing out of the three that are there.
Sure. Yeah.
If I remember correctly, and again, this is where a rewatch would be helpful, because I probably won't be like watching this movie through the sobs of my ever depleting supply of water.
Sure.
But Pete's like the only one who stays like, yeah, like, I don't know if it, like, Pete has more of like a positive outlook, and it kind of tells you like he's the only one left that has the wherewithal to make it those last final steps. Because
Sure.
in that moment, Garrett has the line of like, I don't know if it's going to rain, and it's Pete that steps in there and says, no, I have a feeling that it might. And that's what kind of tells you on, again, maybe I'm reading into it too much, but for me, that kind of tells you of who's made up their mind, who is going to see whether or not it rains, essentially,
Sure.
is what that means.
Yeah. Yeah. Stevens' death is one of the more shocking ones, because he also was a character until the end. You didn't really feel like he had much going for him. Like, he kept a lot of secrets. He was sick, but he didn't really have much. It was when he dropped the line that he was the major's bastard son, that he had a reason for being here, that you're like, oh God, don't die. Please don't die. That was like, this movie does a good job of like letting you sit in the moment, but also like, okay, here's some characters that's going to give you some stuff, and then the rest of the characters, we're going to find out about them later. Like, we may not know about them right away, but we'll know about them later. And Stebbins is definitely that character for me, where he, like, at the end, I was like, I really like that character, maybe more than the rest of the rest of them, other than like Pete and Ray, who are obviously the standouts and the best characters in this whole film.
Yeah, it's funny. So I'm gonna talk about something real quick, and then I'll go back to you, just because I thought of it and I don't want to forget about it, because I thought of it earlier and then forgot about it. I had a complaint when I first started watching this movie, when the first death happened, because they never call it a death. They say punching in your ticket or getting your ticket or whatever.
Right.
They never say at the beginning of this movie that you're going to die. My complaint at the beginning of this movie is, obviously I watched the trailer because it came up in theaters. I actually never watched this trailer at home. I only ever saw it at the beginning when I sit through the trailers. But they show us that the characters get shot. They show that the characters are going to die. So you know what punching in your ticket or getting your ticket means. My complaint at the beginning of this movie was, oh, I wish that we didn't know that and obviously it's a hard complaint to have, because obviously if you know the book, you know what happens. But part of me was like, oh, I wish we didn't know what getting your ticket punched in means. I wish we didn't know that that meant that you were going to die. I no longer have that complaint, because I feel like it doesn't matter. I feel like knowing that the characters die or not does not detract from the actual purpose and weight of those deaths at all. Because that was my complaint in the beginning. I was like, oh, well, we know characters are going to die, and that removes my emotional connection. No. I don't feel like it had any effect on my enjoyment of or I should say the weight of the fact that characters die. It
Sure.
doesn't remove the shock value when a character dies. You still feel shocked and depressed and devastated when a character dies, even knowing that that's what's going to happen, even knowing that Curly is, when he falls and he's going to get his ticket punched, that means he's going to have his brains spilled on the floor. And
Right.
that's another thing that I want to talk about. This movie uses violence better than most movies will ever use violence, because
Sure.
this is a hard R movie. One, because the characters curse like sailors, like they curse a lot. But I feel like it makes sense. I feel like it makes
Sure.
sense for the world that we're living in, the
Sure.
emotional state of these characters. But this movie uses violence in such an expert way because there's not a lot of it. It's not a gory movie for most of it, but when it is devastatingly bad. You see characters get their brains literally blown out on the sidewalk that you just connected with and you loved. Again, you watch a little kid get his jaw blown off. You watch
Right.
a dude who just wanted to resist, holding his chest, bleeding to death, kneeled on the ground. You
Right.
see characters. This is another one of the hardest deaths. You see a character die with his pants down as he tries to shit. That is one of the worst and most disgusting things that another person can do to someone, is not give them the dignity in death. That man had no
Sure.
dignity in his death, and it's not his fault. It's the way that this world has been built, and the fact that these people are willing to shoot someone as they try to relieve themselves because they cannot hold it in anymore. Was it a disgusting scene to watch? Do I want to watch another character take a shit on the ground? No. But the fact of what that means and what that represents, of these soldiers do not give a shit about you. They do not give a shit about your dignity. We have that whole line between Garrett and a soldier where he gets his water refilled and then he's like, don't pretend you give a shit. Don't pretend you care. You don't. And it's that use of violence and that use of that rated R nature that I think is better than any movie that I've seen almost ever use violence.
So I agree with you. Let's change topics. 'Cause I want to talk about, this is like the last major thing I want to talk about, and some of it's a negative, some of it's just a really cool thing I want to talk about. The casting in this film is really weird because you have some people in this film where you're like, holy crap, I know what you're from. What are you
You have
doing
Mark
in
Hamill.
okay, let's start with the one where I'm like, that I didn't really, feel like it did anything for me. Mark Hamill, who has, I think, one monologue and 5 lines of dialogue in this entire film. He comes in like once every 20 minutes and he plays the main villain. In the book, if this is how it's written, that's fine. The villain at the end of the day, I'm not saying he's underwhelming because it's the tension and it's the atmosphere that you're given with it, but it's just like, I think this was a very easy paycheck for Mark Hamill. That's all
Yeah,
I'll say. This is clearly
yeah.
a very easy paycheck, especially when you look at somebody else who's in this movie like Judy Greer. Judy Greer, who has been in the acting industry for forever and has done numerous roles, comedy, drama, all of it. My God, the emotion she packs into every single scene that she's in this film is unlike anything I've ever seen her do. The closest thing, and again, I haven't seen a lot of Judy Greer, but like the closest thing that I can think of is like the Halloween Kills, Halloween, and the Halloween 2018, because she does have a lot of raw emotion in that film. And she also has a lot of it here. And you feel the mother's love within this, especially for her son. But comparing that to Mark Hamill, Mark Hamill has the easiest paycheck ever, where he literally has the same character beat the entire time. He's menacing in a different way, but I also like, he is menacing. I still wouldn't say that this is one of the top 10 villains of all time, or
So I agree with you in the sense that I think Mark Hamill does an exceptional job with every scene that he is given, but he's not given a lot. Now,
no.
the reason why I did have that complaint at first of like, oh, the villain, the major. Here's the thing. Mark Hamill slash the Major is not the villain of this movie.
No.
He's not. He is a representation of the true villain, which is the way the society has gone.
Yes.
He is just the pinnacle representation of what the actual villain of this movie is. He is just the physical personification of it. Now,
Yes.
does that take away from him as a character? For me, it did initially, but after thinking about it, it doesn't, because I understand that Mark Hamill's character, the Major, served every purpose he needed to. He gave that final death. We see him kill Garrett's father. We see the moments that he has in the lack of care. Like, for instance, the moment towards the end of the movie where they're insulting him and he's goading them on with a sick, twisted excitement.
Right.
The actual look of fear on his face, finally being confronted with the evils that he has committed in this world, I think are all really well done. But I can understand why, without thinking about it too much, why the Major himself is not a top 10 villain, but he's also not meant to be. He's not supposed to be, because he is only there to represent the true villain.
Sure. Right. But moving on to like other, I agree with you. And moving on to like other like I'm not saying they're cameos here, but this is just like things that like I didn't notice until after the film. Some of them I knew beforehand, but some of them I didn't. Cooper Hoffman, who plays Ray, played one of the leads in the Saturday Night Live movie last year, which I really liked. He comes in this film and it's a completely different character, but he is so good here. Like
Absolutely.
Oscar winning level here. David Johnson, who was the best part of Alien Romulus last year. And I loved Alien Romulus. He was actually in my top 10 of like films from last year.
Yeah.
Obviously he plays Pete. Phenomenal here. This one I want to know if you actually caught on to. What movie was Hank in?
Oh, he was in. I call it immediate. I caught it from the trailers. He was the main character in Karate Kid.
Good. I just want to
Yeah,
know if
Ben
you knew
Wang.
that. I just wanted to know if
Yeah.
you knew that. Here's one I don't know, because I don't know if you ever actually
Which
ended up seeing this
I
movie.
will say, sorry to interrupt you, just on the Ben Wang thing. Honestly, I'm gonna be totally honest here. I loved Ben. I thought Ben Wang did a really good job in Karate Kid with what he was given. Ben Wang's performance in this movie only makes me hate Karate Kid more, because
Oh
this
no, absolutely.
motherfucker can act his
Yeah.
absolute ass off.
Yeah.
And the fact that you like snoop him down to the Karate Kid level of a mediocre movie that was kind of all over the place, that I was higher on than most, but still understand is not a great movie. The fact that he gives such an exceptional performance in this movie, I'm like, come on, Karate Kid, you have an all-time actor on your hands right here, and you give him this? Okay,
Right.
buddy. So I'm glad that we got to see him in another movie this year, and that it was this.
So that's one. Parker isn't in anything we've seen yet, but he's going to be in the upcoming Welcome to Derry, another Stephen King property, but he's going to be in that series. And then I don't know if you've seen this film. I hope you have. If not, go watch it like immediately, because it was one of my favorite films of 2019. The kid who played Curly. Do you know who that's from?
Okay, I don't know where he's from, but he looked so familiar. That was my problem. Is the second he got on screen, I was like, I feel like I know you from somewhere, and I don't think it's the trailers.
Did you ever watch the movie Jojo Rabbit?
I did not, but you're right. He is the main character in Jojo Rabbit. That's why I recognized him. I never saw the movie, but it was from the trailers of Jojo Rabbit. I knew I recognized him from somewhere. Okay.
Yeah. Golly, dude. Kids grow up so quickly. And he is one of those where I'm like, holy crap, what happened to you in the past few years? You went through a lot.
I mean, he looks pretty much the same, just older. But
yeah,
again, he did a really good job with the 5 seconds he was on screen.
Oh no, absolutely. I guess putting it all together, wrapping up my thoughts, because I've said everything that I want to say. This film is a beautiful film from start to finish. It is not an easy film to watch. Here's the thing. I will recommend this to everybody because I think it is. That being said, it is a hard watch, and I understand why people would not be able to get through all of it or just couldn't watch it. Granted, I think that's Stephen King films in general. Sometimes it's hard to watch The Green Mile. Sometimes it's hard to watch The Shawshank Redemption. It's hard to watch The Shining because of how psychologically damaging that film is. So I will recommend this to as many people as I possibly can because it is that good. But I understand how difficult it is to get through it. I think the writing is
impeccable. The content warning.
Or the content warning. I think the writing is impeccable. I think the acting is outstanding. I think that some of the cinematography in this film is just absolutely gorgeous and beautiful to look at. And I think that for what Mark Hamill and Judy Greer are in the movie for, they do a good job giving the performances that they're able to give. My dog is currently barking as we're doing this.
I can hear.
I love that. But I really did appreciate what this film was. I didn't expect it to like it as much as I did. Give it like a month, I'll rewatch it because it's hard to sit through.
Yeah, I might be rewatching this tomorrow. We'll see if my friend actually wants to go. But yeah, I agree with you in the sense of I want to recommend this movie to every human being on Earth. However, they will hate me.
Oh, absolutely.
Like this movie, you'll go and recommend it and be like, "Oh, it's such a good movie," and it is. But at the same time,
right.
If you don't, this is a good test. If you take someone to watch this movie and they don't cry, disown them. Get them out of your life because they have no soul. Like
all right, bet.
This movie is, again, I think it is definitively the best acted movie of the year. I think it is one of the best looking movies of the year, just from the sense of it is very small scoped, but what it does with that small scope is so good. The story is it captures your heartstrings. I don't know. I've never seen a movie not waste a single second as well as this movie did. There was not a single moment in this movie where I'm like, okay, move a little faster, wrap it up. I'm like, oh my God, I was so enthralled in every second of every scene of this movie. Right. I think that the world building that they did was so subtle, but so in your face at the same time. It endears you to everyone. The struggles that people go through might seem outlandish, but I feel like every single struggle that everyone goes through in this movie is something that someone out there can relate to in one way or another. And it's such an important message of pushing past where you think you're going to go. Whether or not you're going to be the one who makes it, it doesn't matter. It's still worth trying. The line of dialogue, and we didn't talk about this all that much, but there's a line, it's a whole conversation about everyone knows that this is technically optional. You don't have to do the long walk. You are voluntarily putting your name into the raffle. However, everyone does. And I think that the importance that statement has might be understated because it's an example of everyone wants to try. Everyone wants to think that they have a chance. So few are ever offered that opportunity. And even of those that are offered that opportunity, only make it so far. There's so few people who actually make it where they want to be. But that does not mean it is not worth trying. I think that is such an important thing to take away from this movie. That yes, only a single person makes it through this movie that you care about. But that does not mean that you can look at all the other people that were left along the way and say that they did not try and that they did not have an impact on something in this movie, on some aspect of another character, on some aspect of the world, on some aspect of you as a person. I think that is such an important message to have, that you never know. Again, I don't know. I could ramble on for so long. I want to keep talking about this movie, but at the same time, like, I feel like I'll just keep rambling. So I'll wrap it up. Shut up. But go see this movie. That's where I'll end it. Go see this movie. Understand that you will be emotionally devastated, but go see this movie. because it will be a top movie of the year. And it's, again, not to rehash what we already said, it is so funny that this is a movie. I was standing in my kitchen cooking dinner one day on the phone with Carson being like, oh, well, we need to come up with something to talk about next week. What are we going to talk about? Oh,
Right.
oh, maybe we'll do The Long Walk. And Carson's like, do you really want to do The Long Walk? And I'm like, well, we don't really have any other options. And now we're both sitting here being like, yeah, it's a top 5 movie. Like, yeah, it's an exceptional movie. Like,
Sure.
that's the beauty. Again, the beauty of this podcast for the both of us is we'll see movies that we never would have seen originally, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with that being said, next week, there is not a big movie review like coming out next weekend that both of us are like as interested in seeing. We talked through a few movies. Maybe we'll watch them eventually. What we are going to do on top of our continued Peacemaker discussion is we're going to talk about Novocaine. That's a movie that came out before we started the podcast, and it was in, if you saw our short where Carson gave his top 10, I believe, movies of the year so far, it was in there. I have not seen Novocaine yet. Unfortunately, it's out of theater, so I'll have to watch it at home. But we're going to talk about Novocaine, and little bit of a spoiler since we have already determined what the next few weeks are going to be. I'm not going to get into every single week, but the week after, we're going to talk about the new Leonardo DiCaprio movie, One Battle After Another, a big, highly anticipated movie of the year. I know, especially for Carson, like I was intrigued by the trailers of this movie, but I knew the second I saw it that this was going to be a movie that Carson was like, we have to see this movie.
It's DiCaprio.
Mainly because Leonardo DiCaprio. So yeah, exactly.
He's my favorite actor, of course. I'll see anything
Yeah.
that guy does. Even if it's bad, I'll see it.
Yeah. So that is something to look forward to. Also, we're going to have to figure out how we want to talk about this because it comes out before Peacemaker wraps, but somewhere in there, hopefully a little bit on the podcast, but somewhere probably on the short form as well. We do have Marvel Zombies that's coming up at the end of September.
Sure.
So I think that coincides with the week that One Battle After Another comes out. We will talk about it. How we talk about it is yet to be determined, but
Sure.
we will talk about it. So yeah, that's what's to look forward to in the next 2 weeks of the podcast. Carson, do you have any final words to wrap us out of here?
I'm really hungry and I want to go eat lunch. So
I'm also really hungry. It's 1:15 and I did not eat breakfast. So yeah, I'm right there with you. But thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast. You can go ahead and drop a like. Let us know your thoughts in the comments on anything that we talked about this movie, whether it be the Super Mario Galaxy movie, whether that be Peacemaker, whether that be telling Carson how wrong he is, or telling me how right I am. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Follow us at Nerdy Nimrods. We are on all podcast hosting platforms, Spotify, YouTube. We're on Pandora. You can literally find us anywhere. Follow us on all of our social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts. We talk about a lot of things that don't make it on the podcast. I talk about mainly anime. Carson will hop in there with WWE. He's talked about Halloween Horror Nights. He'll talk about a movie that for instance, he talked about The Departed this week, which is back in theaters and Regals. We talk about a lot of things on a lot of platforms, so follow us. We're at Nerdy Nimrods absolutely everywhere. But with that being said, what do we say at the end of every episode? As always, stay nerdy.